are you? Well, we're back for another edition of Talking Preps. You might notice that we're missing one of our normal teammates, Sam Griner. Sold us out.
Got too much candy last night at his Halloween adventures.
So we added Sean Fitzgerald of Lake Norman High School to join the show. How you doing, Coach?
Doing well, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, since I got you on the spot, let me keep you on the spot. How are workouts going, and how forward are you guys looking to playing football?
Workouts are going awesome. The way we've structured it is we run 3 groups an afternoon so that we can have 16 kids. We have 8 racks in our weight room. We have 16 kids per session for 40 minutes. We run 3 of those groups, so we have 48 kids over the course of the afternoon. That gives us the ability to see each kid twice a week, and then see 96 of our 133 kids that we have in our program twice a week. And then we have a group on Fridays that are kids that are, not as familiar with lifting, could be freshmen, anything like that. But things are going really, really well. We've had fantastic attendance. We seldomly have kids miss, and we are looking so much forward to playing football. We have not really cranked up a ton of football specific activities. We had a nice little jump. Our district was one of the few that allowed us to start workouts on June 15th. And so we've really been concentrating on the weight room. We see everything going on Sunday in the NFL with all these injuries, everything else like that. And we felt like getting back in the weight room and spending our time with injury prevention stuff was going to be the most important thing. And then we could kind of pick back up on some football here as we go.
Gary, the state is still talking about red sports, yellow sports, green sports. We're going to start out with volleyball and cross country on the 4th. Basketball is kind of the first primary sport that starts December the 5th. It looks like they can start practice, but right now, if the season were to start, basketball would still be a red sport. Football would still be a red sport. Are you concerned, as cases are getting worse, that we won't be able to play, Gary?
I am. I think they're going to try basketball with no fans, of course, maybe parents. And based on how the numbers are going, that'll determine if we make it to football. I'm interested to see how the school system, at least CMS, how they transition to in-person learning this week. That starts Monday for elementary schools. I'm interested to see how well that goes. The high school kids are not going back until January. So by January, we should have an idea of, what's possible and what's going to be impossible.
Yeah, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, Gary mentioned about the kids going back to school. My granddaughters were with me today, and they go back to school tomorrow. Certainly, I'm concerned because we're seeing record numbers. I just hope that we move forward and still try to play and wait until there are incidences that start to come up that we, relook at it. I would love for us to be able to go through and play. And I would think if we can keep limited fan, et cetera, we can keep it safe. But I'm concerned, yes.
Yeah. Kinsey, what are the kids saying as we're getting close to basketball December the 5th and the season starting in January and football after that? What's are you guys anxious, believing it's going to happen, or any doubt that it may not happen?
I think there's a lot of doubt that it's not going to happen. We aren't even back in school yet. Friday, there was a walkout, and it was, kids are upset about not being in school. So I think kind of sports are kind of fading out of people's minds if they aren't athletes. But I think people are excited to get back. Football workouts just started. I don't know about basketball, but there's definitely excitement. But I think right now it's just, we aren't really expecting to go back. I know I'm kind of expecting the worst, which sounds bad, but I don't want to be disappointed.
Yeah. You said there was a walkout. Was that? I mean, people just turned off their Zoom and
Is
said,
that a remote?
Yeah, I don't know where they walked to. They, I honestly I didn't participate. But I know it happened. I don't think it really made much of an impact. But they were counted absent, and it was pretty controversial. Student body was pretty much split.
Yeah.
People who were like, we have to walk out, and people who are like, you're idiots. And I was kind of, in the middle because, I see both sides. But,
this is the first I heard of it. And I had 3 classes on Friday, and they had normal attendance.
Yeah, I think it was just a Huff thing.
It was just a Huff.
Our student body president organized it.
Right. Halfway.
Well, these are unprecedented times. I mean, they've been in remote learning for a good amount of time now, and it seems like there's no end to it. And you guys go take your final exams on campus in December,
so
right?
It depends. So I heard that midterms,
mid
exams will be at home.
Okay.
State mid exams will be in person.
Okay.
So I'm not going to school for any of my exams, but some kids are. So it really depends on the student.
Yeah, Hopewell got their exam schedule on Friday. Well, the teachers, we got it. I guess we'll disseminate it to the kids next week. But some classes, just depends if it's what's called an EOC class.
Mm-hmm.
If it's an EOC class, it has to be taken at school no matter what.
I'm kind of with Dale. I hope we do kind of get it launched. I'm just worried that if we don't move into the next phase, that it'll still be a red sport and they won't play it. But I want to ask you guys this. The private schools have done a really, really good job of streaming games. And I just wonder, when COVID is over, should we continue to stream games or should we not do it anymore? What do you guys think?
Yes.
Why?
We should continue to stream games. First of all, from just a pure profit standpoint, you can have twice the amount of advertising. You can advertise in the stadium, and you can also run commercials, kind of like they do on those big streaming networks, and do it at a local level. Also, from a student who wants to be in that world, it gives you those experiences, and you are allowed to kind of be creative with it. Put on a live show. I mean, it's very difficult, but it's been able to be done successfully. I know it's been done successfully in multiple other states. But I mean, just from a revenue standpoint, I mean, schools would be probably, doubling the amount of money they're making off advertising because, I mean, you just can.
So you remember back when the Hornets first came to Charlotte, they wouldn't show home games on TV because they felt like it hurt ticket sales.
Yes, yeah. And
they stayed that way for 6-7 years before they finally start showing home and away games on television. And by that time, they weren't selling out anymore. I don't think it affects attendance. Mm-hmm. At least the pros have shown and the colleges have shown that, being able to watch it at home versus going there, it really doesn't affect attendance that much.
They're already doing it, though. Like, that's the thing. Even in the regular season, shoot, they streamed our game against Lake Norman this past year was streamed on NFHS Network. So I mean, it's done through through their system. Not trying to publicize it or whatever, but it's still being done because a lot of the restrictions that you already have with attendance at some of these stadiums, especially in Charlotte for these major games, you have the access through that streaming system to do the same thing. This is the exact same situation, except with much more stricter attendance requirements. So the infrastructure is in place. It just needs to be an expansion of that, or it needs to replicate that exact system when it talks to showing these games. So the foundation's there. People just need to take advantage and go and take it from where it is now.
Dale can probably remember for the longest time the state would not allow any live streaming to go on because they felt like Gary was talking about it hurt attendance, and now that seems to be changing. But Coach Fitzgerald, have you heard of anybody getting that new streaming device?
Yeah, so actually, at Lake Norman High School, we've had something called a Pixelot camera. Yeah, and we've got one in our gym, and we've got one out on our outside of our press box. So any game that takes place in our stadium, any game that takes place in our gym is live streamed through the NFHS network. It's been really, really good. My mom lives in New York. She likes to keep up with the game. She gets on and will log in and stream it. But it's been there for a long time. I'm with Gary. I don't feel like it really hurts attendance because at the same time, football games are also a social event as well. Yeah. Kids don't necessarily go to see the game. they like to go to games when teams are winning ball games, but they go to see their friends. They go to, socialize, things like that. So, I don't feel like you're really losing any. If anything, I think, the same thing Kenzie's talking about, where you're just adding, new stakeholders, honestly, because now you're reaching a completely different states. I've really enjoyed, I've got a young man that I coach, Jake Walker. They just won their 9th game at Claiborne County in Tennessee. I've tried my hardest to keep up with him. He's running split back beer, so that's pretty close to my heart, as Coach Grice knows. It's been fun keeping up with him, and I think that streaming has got to stay after COVID, and it's a fantastic revenue stream as long as schools know how to tap into it and throw some advertising on there and all kinds of stuff.
So Langston, back, it's been a long time now. I started streaming games, and so we didn't have any streaming that was really taking place in the state, and that kind of caused a few things to have to change as far as the state was concerned, because a few other people started picking it up. And the state, what happened is the state set down a rule that you could not stream playoff games. You could stream in the regular season, but you could not stream playoff games. And then about a couple of years ago, they set out that rule that you had to pay the school to stream. So it was even during the regular season. So it's going to be interesting how, if we stream, how we're going to battle the NCHSAA concerning state playoffs, because they reserve those to their own little entities.
Right. Well, I think.
How does that affect recruiting? Can college coaches watch streaming?
Yes.
Yeah, they get an account. Because right now, that's what the basketball guys are doing down in Rock Hill. They're saying we're going to send you a film off to college coaches. That's what they're doing. So I think that's definitely within the works. Dale, Rock Hill last Friday, you saw Dutch Fork and Northwestern. Tell me what you saw.
A lot of talent on that field from both sides of the ball. Very well coached game by Dutch Fork, as you'd expect. Devontae Holloman was not there coaching Friday night, so that definitely disrupted things for South Point to not have your head coach and your offensive coordinator there to call plays. Physicality of the two teams was huge difference, and we talked with Little John about that after the game, and he recognizes that they have a lot of work to do at South Point in the weight room to catch up. But man, that said, South Point's got a lot of talent, and of course Dutch Fork, man, it was just a great game. I was telling Gary before, it wasn't a great game competitive. It was a great game to see things happen. And I was telling Gary, we've seen football this year, and we've seen some good players. But you take any of these teams, they've got a few players, maybe a handful of players that could play on the Dutch Fork. But, that Dutch Fork team, just all 22 starters, just phenomenal. Very, very good football. It looked like to me also, to watch that passing game, Grice would have loved it. And Gary, you were the one that was on the list, not me. But they let me in, and we saw your name on the list.
Well, that was my fault because I was communicating with somebody over there, and they told it's a long story. No need to give that.
I just walked in. I just walked in. No one stopped me.
My wife got a good dinner out of it. She's like, "Well, since you're not going to the game, you can take me out to eat."
Always, since you're not, always is the worst.
But Gary, I got to put you on the spot a little bit since you're our resident NFL analyst. Cam Newton, 15 out of 25, 174 yards a day, ran 9 times, about 60 yards, but they lost again. He fumbled down the stretch, had a chance to win. He didn't turn the ball over, but he's still not playing well. Is he the right thing for New England? Was the Carolina right to give him up?
I don't think so. Long term, maybe. I think today, and I watched a good portion of the game. New England has worse talent than the Panthers had as far as targets for him to throw the ball to. They don't have a tight end. They don't have a wide receiver. In fact, they started 3 free agents at wide receiver today. Now, if you can imagine an NFL quarterback throwing to a bunch of walk-ons, that's about what it came down to today. So I think the Patriots will take in consideration the talent around him. But right now they're struggling. And of course, the fan base in Boston and people associated with the Patriots, that's not something they're used to. What do you think, Grice?
Well, especially in catching, his last game, being a 49er fan and really catching his last game, which was his first game, of course, back from COVID. I think we don't have enough data to really interpret how bad COVID can impact. Because, you think about what he was coming off from. He's coming off 2 weeks of no practice. He's in a situation where, again, he's lost a lot of talent or doesn't really have great receivers to deal with. A lot of Patriots, they're in the double digits of opt-outs from that team. And then you're putting on a team that's already, decent. And he just looked off. He really, in that 49ers game just looked like a guy who had been off for 2 weeks and doing nothing, which, that's just tough. And I think people really discount the rhythm and just how you kind of get off, of your normal schedule by not practicing. A lot of his throws were late. You're not talking, just kind of missing a guy throwing it a little bit behind him. He's, 4 and 5 feet away from the receiver, and he's looking at guys later, really not seeing the field well. So I think he's getting better. Again, this was a better game than the 49ers against arguably a better team, in the Bills. I think as he comes back, it'll get better. But at the end of the day, we don't know how COVID really affected him. This is a guy that's not going to tell you that. He played through a car accident here in Charlotte. So,
it's true.
He's never going to make an excuse for that. But at the end of the day, he's a guy that's serviceable and can get it done. And I think he'll get back to his true self in a few weeks.
Sean, what do you think?
Man, I think Grice is spot on, man. With the talent level that you have in the NFL and the fact that everybody can play ball up there, you can't take 2 weeks off and expect to see, top level talent and expect the man to be 110%. Like you said, he got better week 2 coming back than he was coming back last week. That was a rough week last week. But I think as far as the Patriots organization goes, they're high on the Jarrett Stidham kid, which is his backup. And so what I think the pickup of Cam does is it gives them a year to kind of continue to groom the Stidham kid and to allow Cam to kind of groom the Stidham kid, a pro. Cam's been doing it a long time in a big market like Charlotte. I'm sure that's invaluable to the Jarrett Stidham kid for sure.
Gary, would Dallas want to get Cam?
No.
Gary doesn't like whoever the Dallas Cowboys quarterback is. It doesn't matter who it is.
Dude,
they need a new general manager.
Yeah. Listen. People don't take this the wrong way, because I would never wish death on anybody.
Oh, no, don't do that.
But the Cowboys will never reach the aspirations of their fan base until Jerry Jones is gone. That's as simple as that.
You see, Grice, I didn't even have a how about it segment this week.
Hey,
we got to have a how about it.
You got to get in there.
For Gary. All right, Gary, I'm going to give you a break real quick. Go to let Coach and Grice tell us a little bit about the Thick Boys Running Club, remind people rather, and tell us about the fundraiser you guys have going on.
Yeah, I'll start with the lead in first to lead in for our CEO. But, as you guys know, as me on this show, I've just been excited to, kind of get back in shape. And, and of course, our CEO started as a joke, that the Thick Boys Running Club, just a bunch of big old guys trying to get out there and get in shape. What's been great and what I didn't really, gather is that how many people took on to this, even some of the little guys out there getting out there and running and really taking to what we are doing. And like Coach, we're always in something. I feel like we're always helping people. Hell, we're coaches for a reason. So, this thing is kind of taking on legs, and he had a great idea that I'm on board and a lot of other people are on board with right now. So I'll give it to our CEO, CEO Fitzgerald, and let him take it from there.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. So basically what we've done is, again, through the Thick Boys Running Club, we posted a lot on social media, and it's really helped accountability wise. There's been days where I didn't want to run at all, and saw where Coach Grice took off for 6-7 miles, and I'm like, okay, I need to get out there and go, and it's really helped. As I posted on social media the other day, I'm down 42 pounds. Coach Oliphant's down 42 pounds. Coach Johnson, our defensive coordinator, is down 45 pounds. Like it's been really good for our health. And so, we wanted to say, okay, there's been a lot of people jump on board with this and hashtag Thick Boys Running Club, and been really excited about it. And so we thought, let's use this kind of mini social media platform that we've built, and let's do some good. And so what we've done is we've contacted Game Day Marketing, and they've agreed to set up an online platform for us in order to have people donate money. And our plan is to take this money, and right now there are 6 member schools that are represented in Thick Boys Running Club, and so we're accepting donations, and they're all going to go into that online platform. And then at the end of it, we're going to split it 6 ways, and we're going to adopt families all across the state of North Carolina for Christmas, kind of like the Angel Tree. But I mean, obviously these are unprecedented times, and there are people out there that are really hurting, and kids. I know my favorite thing in the world is waking up on Christmas morning and seeing my kids get excited about what's underneath the tree, and we wanted to make sure that we can kind of spread that, and there's definitely going to be some money going directly into Charlotte, Richmond County, Cabarrus County, Davidson County, and then of course Iredell Statesville. So any money that you guys can give, no donations too small. I really appreciate the opportunity that Langston's given us to kind of have this platform to reach out to you guys as an audience to help us out with our cause here.
Well, there you guys have it right there on the screen, the Thick Boys fundraiser. You can go to the address right there on the screen and make a donation. It's going to go to a good cause. I can vouch for it. 100% behind it. I think it's a great idea that they have here. And I also think it's phenomenal that all you guys are like losing weight together and pushing each other on. I think that's a pretty cool deal. And Chris, all the way in Dubai. What's up, Chris? I know it's like 5 a.m. or something.
Right.
Shout out to my man Chris Hughes.
Yeah, he's got on it too.
Loving his pictures on social media. He's like he was out water skiing the other day. Like he's having a good time. Oh, all right, it's time for game of the week. What we got going?
Charlotte Christian not Country Day, Providence Day.
Oh yeah, hey, I'm gonna have my chess piece next week. I'm gonna have it ready because again, we talk about all the pieces on the chessboard. Does the king stay the king? That is the theme for this week. Christian has ran Charlotte private school sports. They ran it in the state the last 3 years. If this is the game, can it change though? So Kenzie, what are your thoughts? I know you've seen both teams. We've seen the big time game. What do you think?
So I actually haven't seen Charlotte Christian play.
That's right. I thought you had. Yep.
Yeah. But I think right now Charlotte Christian's a lot less banged up than Providence Day is. It started to show a little bit at Latin, team that they blew out of the water week 1, snuck up on them. Like I said, came back with a little bit of vengeance, and Charlotte Christian's coming back with vengeance. They got knocked off that number 1 seed, and they're healthy and they're ready to prove why they should have been number 1.
No, I agree 100%. Dale, I know you've seen them. What are your thoughts in that big time game?
I think that I'm expecting a competitive game. I still right now give the edge to Providence Day. I think Greer will have them ready. I don't know what is. I haven't had a chance to talk to him to see what his injury situation is. I don't think I'd divulge it if I knew, but I haven't talked with him. But it's going to be a competitive game. I'm not going to say that it's going to be a blowout. It's probably going to be like it was that first game, up, down, up, down. Very, very emotional game.
Yep. Gary, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are usually in the rematch game, the team that lost the first game tends to have a little bit more incentive. They're willing to take more chances. They may come in with a couple of new wrinkles that they probably, after watching the first game, they think, hey, we could have done this or we could have done that. But still, I'm leaning towards Providence Day because I think they have more explosive players. I think that they can beat you several ways. I think they have more team speed. I think that's the word I'm looking for. They have more players that can make big plays than Christian does. I think Christian is fundamentally sound, but I don't think they have as many playmakers. Now, I think they have the best playmaker in Rutledge, but I think Providence has more of them. So I think it'll be a close game, and Providence Day will come out on top.
Oh boy! Well, this could be the second of 3 potential meetings between these two teams. Have you guys ever seen one team play another team 3 times in one football season?
That is insane, and I think
happens in basketball, not in football.
I think the big thing too that's different with this situation is just the number of injuries Providence Day has. I watched the live stream of them versus Latin, and I think you could tell. And I watched some of the first game, the meeting between the two, and you could tell a marked difference between the two defenses in those games. I mean, Latin scored 20 points and hadn't put points on anybody this year.
Well, Providence Day's best defensive lineman, Zach, and I don't know how to say his last name.
56. Big Z.
It's been out. Big Z's been out, and I think they've been moving some guys to play linebacker, the offensive line. They've had a lot of injuries. I don't think they've been healthy all season. The first game they played Christian, they were down 4 or 5 guys. I mean, and I know they've gotten
worse now. I mean, they look a much different team than than when I saw against Christian. They look a much different team than week 1. And I think everybody, I think that's a kind of important thing to note when everybody's quickly jumping on the PD bandwagon so far. They're not the same team. And that Latin game was much closer than it should have been.
Yeah,
again,
absolutely.
we talk about Russell Tabor. We know Country Day is good. Christian did what they had to do. They came in, cut the game out of reach mostly in the second half, but that PD Latin game was actually a game for 3.5 quarters.
I wouldn't want to play Country Day if they somehow make the playoffs. If they make the D1 playoffs, I would not want to play. If you go to D2 playoffs, I think they'll win it.
Christian and PD, they should beat anybody. I mean, they have the best quarterback out of outside of those two. They've got a good team, good hard defense. My guy, the glue guy, Sam Hedrick, probably one of the best non-traditional, kind of Heisman type position guys that's out there. So no, they're a tough out. And I think they'd win a D2 depending on how they're doing the state this year.
Well,
so Langston out in the East. I have to go look at the schedules again, but I know that there are teams in the East that play twice during the regular season.
They generally are not as good. Rabun Gap out of Georgia, they play in the North Carolina League because there's no private schools near them. They are like 5-0 or 4-1. They've done really well, so they may be in the mix.
Yeah. But no, my comment was more about teams playing because I didn't get a chance to pop in 3 times in one season. Out in some Eastern 1A conferences, 1A and maybe 2A, there are teams that play twice during the regular season.
So they could possibly do it as well.
So they possibly may have played each other 3. Yeah. I personally can't name ever seen that happened, and certainly not in Charlotte.
It's definitely crazy. Well, Grice, it's your time of the night, man.
Let's go.
We're gonna leave Dale alone with you. Here we go.
All right, our first Grices Gym here is Will Madison from Northwestern High School in Rock Hill. Led his team to a win 26-7 over Spring Valley. This is Northwestern's first undefeated regular season since 2016. So, hey, got to give a shout out to them and OC coach Wayne Starks. Madison was 19 of 24 for 206 and 3 touchdowns in this game. So, they've been one of the biggest surprises this year in the South Carolina high school football. Gary, I don't know if you caught any of the Northwestern. We talked about him with a big win over South Point. What are your thoughts on as you see these guys' highlights?
Awesome. I have not, of course, had an opportunity to see them in person. But, Northwestern, I think we talked about this before. They always have players. They've been the team in Rock Hill. What were his numbers from last week again?
19 to 24, 206 and 3 touches. So yeah, that was a good day. And Gary, what are your thoughts? Like you say, looks like he's a good ball player. Looked like he made a lot of great throws out here. So I'm excited to see what they can do.
He does.
Well yes, I agree with you. I thought they had a 7-game regular season. Have they missed a couple of games because of cancellation?
It's been under the radar, but I'm sure they've had some COVID issues as well and had to cut some. So, either way, it looks like, they've done well. But again, 5-0, I mean, this got me back to those Kyle Richardson years when Northwestern was a tough out.
Exactly.
And they're looking very high flying, like they're hitting that stride again. So, it's exciting to see that. We've kind of, like I said, that I kind of raised an eyebrow when I saw the South Point victory over them this year. But again, hey, you finish undefeated in South Carolina high school football is somebody you gotta watch and pay attention to. So we'll move on here to Bennett Galloway out of Tappan High School. So again, you see, hey, good running back here. He had over 171 yards rushing, more than 200 return yards, as you see the big return here, and 4 touchdowns for his high school as they beat Irmo 55-38 on Friday. So they're 4-2, as well as Irmo, of course, coached by former Vance coach Aaron Brand, like I said, was also 4-2 there. But hey, this getting back to that old school power football here. It looks like they're giving it to this guy and just letting him go.
Yeah, it's like a power running game out of a spread offense, much like Carolina tries to do with that power running attack. I can imagine Coach Brand was pretty frustrated because it's nothing more frustrating to a coach than not to be able to get off the field on third down. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And Dale, I'm sure you would agree. But hey, we got the man here. Again, this guy does not stop, man. I'm glad to have him as a Grices Gym. 24 carries, 295. And 2 touchdowns in a 31-21 win over Country Day. I feel like every week, he's a guy that I'm considering. He's a guy that's probably there, or a guy that we're always talking about. But again, if he didn't show you how big a game he could have, first round of playoffs against a team in Country Day looking for an upset, he gives you big money with scoring runs of 1685. Dale, is he one of the best you've seen out of the private school running the ball in a while?
He is one of the best we've seen this year, too. We saw some good ball players Friday night, but what I really like is how he is in the backfield. He gets when he runs the edge a lot, and you see how he gets to the edge very quickly, fast. He is, without question, I think, the most explosive. I still like 5 at Providence Day, but this kid is definitely one you got to – in that Heisman thing we're talking about, you got to have this kid in that mix. Good, look at this. Look at that.
Yeah, he's a top answer. Like I told, like me and Gary said, I think he was giving out Chick-fil-A sandwiches at halftime at Christian-Providence. He can do it all.
It'll be interesting to see how Christian uses him to attack Providence Day, and vice versa, how Providence Day gears their offense or their defense to stop him. That's probably going to be the theme of the game.
And speaking of stopping Providence Day, hey, you're right on board.
We've had this kid on.
Thomas spent 7 catches, 140, and 2 touchdowns, and a surprisingly closer 37-20 win over Charlotte Latin in the first round of the playoffs. Again, this guy is one of those great outside receivers that can do it all. I know Sam's big on him. Dale, I've heard you talk about him as well. And I mean, you like to have a guy that's outside of the top of the numbers that can run those slants inside, that can catch the ball deep. We saw him already in the intermediate game running gigs across the middle of the field. So, having a versatile receiver like this, and I mean, I love to throw the ball. A guy like this is one that your quarterback you find is always looking to, no matter what.
What he's good about is getting his body turned around to get that ball and make that catch. He rotates beautifully, smooth. This is his 3rd time we've had him on, by the way. We had him on 2 times for Fresh Faces, and he's a great ball player. I think he could play for any school here in here in Charlotte and start at that position. He is good.
And then, like I said, Gary, I know you coach good receivers. I mean, what do you see when you look at him?
He's a big yak guy. I like how he breaks off his routes, especially on that dig route. If he could split those safeties, it's going to be a long night for Charlotte.
Yeah, that's definitely somebody that they're going to have to attend to it again. We're seeing, like we know in the private school, custom, seeing it on both sides of the ball here. And, he shows he's a force no matter which side you have him on. So, no, it's going to be exciting again. That game's going to be a big game. And I got to admit, these last two guys, Rutledge and Flynn, are going to have major parts in it.
Exactly.
Well, let's actually move to this. Should be our final Grices gym here against Charlotte Latin. They've had a tough season, but they've had some highlights. We got Aaron Logan from Charlotte Latin. Again, they played a lot better against Providence Day this past week. And this guy was a big reason why. You got 15 tackles, 5 tackles for a loss, and 2 sacks versus Charlotte Latin. Versus Providence Day. Excuse me. And again, as I was watching that game, Providence Day was struggling a lot. This guy was one of the main reasons why. I mean, a guy that was in it almost seemed on every tackle, helping to get to Jake Helfrich, keeping him uncomfortable in the pocket. And we're seeing here why this game was so and why Providence Day was struggling. So, again, we talked about those injuries. We talked about the revamped line. We're seeing a team in Latin get pressure that's a little bit smaller in the trenches. It's going to be a lot bigger. So this is something that's going to be, one thing to note and watch as we go forward. So, no,
he comes off that edge fast, does he?
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. So, good to see this out of Latin. Hey, kudos to them. They did a heck of a job in the rematch. Thought they almost had it, but again, they didn't have the horsepower as the PD has out there. But again, you see, he was in on everything.
Exactly. And I don't know if you noticed, did PD by any chance were they playing other players, meaning potentially playing twos intentionally in this game?
No, I saw all your favorite stars. I mean, I just think Latin had a daggum good, game plan for him and frustrated them early. I mean, of course, later on, your numbers, your fives, your nickel fields, your JT Smiths, came and showed tough in the end. But no, it was a straight up Latin had a great game plan and really made some big plays early. But that's it for Grices Gym. My Twitter, of course, is at Coach J Grice. Hit up Langston Wirtz. Anybody on Friday night, you think you had a game, your mom and dad think your child had a game, hashtag Grices Gyms, send that to us and, we'll get you on here if you stacked up well against the rest of the area. So, like I said, hey, my time's over. So I'm gonna shoot it to my other favorite time, Kinsey McLean with Kinsey time.
Let's get it. Transitioning right into Providence Day, they got a QB in Jake Helfrich. A lot of challenges he's overcome.
So are we going to get to see your interview here or
Jake, you suffered a pretty devastating ankle injury last year. How has it been to come back, win conference this year, and that road to recovery process?
It's been great. I mean, the whole process really taught me a lot. I mean, I've never had an injury like that, and it happened pretty early in the season last year, which was unfortunate. But I learned a lot about myself throughout the whole process, and ultimately, it just made football that much more fun to me. I mean, losing the game, getting it taken away from you, not by choice. I mean, when you sit back and you think and you're sitting on the couch with your leg up in the cast, you're just dying to be back out there. Even all the parts that aren't fun, the morning lifts, the two-a-days, the running. But, I mean, that made me just cherish it that much more this year. I mean, it's my last year. It's senior year. So, I mean, it's your last go-around for a lot of these kids, a lot of seniors. But just the fact that I lost it last year just makes me cherish everything about it this year.
How have you guys been able to keep that success rolling?
It all starts with the culture, and Coach Greer presented the culture, and everyone bought in. I mean, seniors all the way down to 7th grade. I mean, the entire program bought into this culture, and it made it our own. It's not Coach Greer's culture. It's our culture, and continue to do that each week. Take it week by week, day by day, practice by practice. I mean, coaches preach every day, just we have a whole family atmosphere and just hard work works. I mean, that's Greer. That's Coach Greer saying hard work works.
So you mentioned Coach Greer. Coach Greer has a little bit of a history with quarterbacks. I don't know if you know that. How's it been to be working with him, and just how's that improved you?
It's great. I mean, I went into it just trying to be like a sponge, just soak in everything I can from him. I mean, he brought in a great assistant, Anthony DeJoy, who was one of his quarterbacks at Davidson Day. I have a great relationship with him. And then even his own son, Will Greer, he's there every once in a while, learn from him.
Yeah, must be fun to learn from an NFL quarterback. I haven't gotten that experience.
It's a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. So what else are you guys expecting this year? Are you expecting to go all the way?
We are. I mean, again, you got to take it week by week, but we have the whole master plan, but you can't get to the end result without hitting each step of the process all the way through. And Coach Greer said, I mean, can't think about 2 weeks ahead, 3 weeks ahead. Can't think about states or even what's going to happen 2 weeks from now. All you got to worry about is what's going to happen Friday night.
Yeah. Jake, it's been great talking to you. It's been a fun conversation.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me, Mackenzie.
So, Kenzie, how many are you still getting requests from people? Kids, we need you to contact Kenzie and or parents and get some interviews. When are we going to see the full interview?
10 p.m. tomorrow night. It's going to drop on the Observer YouTube page. Lanks will probably post it on his Twitter. I'll retweet it. Follow me on Twitter. You know, I need more followers. Just need to. We're all about.
What's your Twitter, Kenzie?
Young lady.
You
got to put your Twitter down in the thing there. Instead of the kids you see everybody else has their Twitter. You got to put your Twitter down.
I didn't think about that.
Even Coach Fitzgerald has his Twitter on there.
I messed up last time and didn't do it. I look funny, so I needed to fix it.
But Kenzie's doing a great job with the videos. I mean, are people reaching out to you, Kenzie?
Not really. It's mostly me reaching out, which is fine. You know, it's a little fun to think about that creatively. So think about who I want to do and how I want to do it. But I mean, if you want to reach out, that'd be a lot of fun too. So.
Yeah, and you don't have to be a private school person that's playing right now. You can be a public school person that hasn't played yet. We got volleyball coming out. Can we do volleyball and cross country?
Any athlete who wants to be interviewed, hit me up, man.
There you go. She does a great job.
Yeah, swimmers, anybody, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So hit her up and hopefully, in fact, Kenzie, why don't you take that off and put your Twitter thing in there and then put that up for the rest of the show so people can come and see your Twitter handle later on.
All right. How do I do that?
Your settings down in the bottom.
Down in the bottom, yeah. All right. Meanwhile, while she's figuring that out, Grice, I'm going to try to get – now, Kenzie, you first up when we come back.
Oh, I am?
Yeah, you first up. So wait a minute. Am I going to get it right, Grice? Here we go, Fresh Face.
Oh, yeah.
We're back to Providence Day. Brody Barnhart, this kid's having a year. Versus Country Day, he went off. Had a couple of incredible plays. Forced a fumble, had a 50-yard interception, 13 tackles. He's also an FBU All-American, so he'll be heading down to Florida later in the year. He's going to progress in a way that is insane because this kid's young and he's got every tool that he needs to make it all the way.
Yeah, Coach Greer is really high on this kid. He thinks he's going to be a Power 5 type player. If he's in the FBU All-American game, that means he's involved with Larry Kennedy and those guys, which means he's probably really legit. And his highlights look pretty spectacular for a 2024 kid. What do you think, Grace?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he looks like a good kid. I mean, you see him getting off the block, being physical on a fourth down play. You know, he's able to show he's not just, a guy waiting to defend the pass. He can come up there and hit you and leave you force fumble right there. So you like that aggression from a young kid and know it can only get better.
All right, we got Khalik Amir Bay out of Barry. Grice is on you.
All right, hey, I like a lot of these Barry guys, man. You see the aggression there from a linebacker. He's a 2022 kid, 6'2", 225. So, again, he has the size that you're looking for when you're talking about an interior backer here. Again, he's, got to continue to grow and get better. Of course, he's got to continue to show some of the versatility. But, when you got a guy like this young, I mean, he's a guy that can come downhill and really cause havoc for you for a quarterback that's looking to establish himself in the pocket. So you love to see a guy like that. They clearly have a lot of, faith in this guy and the way he's able to, to attack the football. So I like him a lot. I think he's a guy that can continue to grow, and he's got the big-time size. So if he keeps the grades with us, I think he'll be somebody to watch out for.
Yeah, Barry always making good athletes.
Oh, yeah, they stay with really good athletes. And, I mean, having seen this kid, he's a physical kid. And like you see, I mean, he can play there. He can also play on offense if need be. As he was able to get some big yards there. So, got to like these guys, and hopefully they can keep moving.
All right, Parrish Metzger out of Butler. Grinder, let you go on this one too.
Yeah, I'll take this again. Hey, Parrish is a kid, 2021 kid, QB. You see him here with some of the tools, man. He's able to roll to his weak side, make a big throw there before the defender can get there. I like him a lot. I think, this year he steps into his own as a quarterback that, you don't have Jamal Worthy there anymore. Now a lot more of the offense, depends on him. And, I think that Butler will go as far as they can as far as he leads them. So
Parrish receiver is big.
Oh yeah, he's a good guy, man. I like him. I like what he does at the position. Like I've said around here a lot, the 2021 quarterbacks in this city are some of the best that we've seen as far as a collection. I mean, you add him in the list of McDermott and Elfridge and Tamala and a lot of these guys, of course, Drake and a lot of these others. But we've got a really good class of guys here. Again, this is game one against Huff. I mean, standing in the pocket there, able to give the throw and execute that for a touchdown. So that's the big thing about him. He's got some highlights against some really big teams.
Look at the competition he's playing against.
That's what I'm saying.
Richmond and Olive Creek. I mean, that's serious.
Huff. I mean, you got he's got some big talent. And I think
nice throw there.
Consistency will be the big thing. But you get balls like that are thrown that well, he's going to be a problem. And I think you'll see why Brian Hales has a state championship game that's already on his spray paint on his field right now.
His quarterback coach is real high on him. I talked to him Friday night and asked him how he thought he was going to be this year.
Fad better be high on him. He's good.
And he said, we're going to be all right. So,
yeah, no, that's the thing. Like you said, the only thing you just hope he continues to grow and and get better. And I think that's the thing is he's played against the big time talent, so you won't have to worry about him staring into the lights. All these throws, again, as we're saying, are against big time teams.
All right, Gary, got RayNoise Sermon out of North Meck.
6'3", 240, outside linebacker, defensive end, depending on how you want to define it in their 3-4 defense, looks like. Great pass rusher. And the key to being a great pass rusher is long arms. He has a lot of highlights on here from Hopewell games, and that tells me the offensive game coordinator for Hopewell didn't game plan for him.
Hey, we got the shield. We have the shield. That's automatic, baby.
and I was wondering how they could miss that coordinator could miss a guy like this because he is dominating a lot of these films. Now, I haven't seen North Meck offensively, and maybe it was an offensive problem that North Meck had, but it's going to be interesting. I know North has a new coaching staff this year, how they will use him. I think he's probably a linebacker type at a D1 college. Or if he wants to play FCS, then yeah, he can continue to put his hand down on the ground. But as you can see, he can really bend that corner, kind of like Myles Garrett. He gets low going around that corner.
Ooh, there he goes.
Oh, yeah. He is smooth with it. I think the key will be just if he can cover. I mean, you talk about hand in the dirt versus not. I mean, his highlights, and again, clearly there's another one here. What we saw from him a lot more was just coming off the edge there. And so that's his next step, like you said, to determine FCS or FBS. If he can cover.
What do you think the offensive coordinator at Hopewell will do to stop him this year?
Hey, man. We 300 yards passing, 60% completion percentage, and 37 points. I think we did a good enough job.
Put a big tackle out there on him.
Go away from him and double him and do something.
No, he's a very good player, man. He's a great player.
All right, Dale, Elias Bethea out of Garrington.
Yeah, 5'9". I don't have a weight on him. He didn't have that listed. Quarterback, he as we was talking earlier, he plays about 7 back. He runs, he does throw too, but you can see they're a pretty tough kid to bring down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm liking it. We can get some Garrington kids on here. I know they've had some tough times over the recent years, but Garrington does have good football players. We've been able to see them an awful lot in the recent years at different positions. They normally have a lot of speed and a lot of athleticism as well.
You got some better highlight than I watched his junior season film. This is a lot better highlight here.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, just having guys that are having good coaching will help them. Consistent coaching will help them continue to get better. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we were able to turn things around at Hopewell. So I mean, it shows consistent culture and coaching will do that. But
since Barry Shuford left, Garrett has been through a dozen coaches at least. I mean, it's
at least
insane amount of coaches, and they just haven't They just haven't had people to stick around. And every guy says, I'm going to be the guy to stick around, but they just, for whatever reason, they just can't. But Garrington does have talent, and they do have athletes. It's just like you said, Grice. I think it's going to take somebody who doesn't mind having the losing record the first couple of years. All right, Coach Fitzgerald, here's your debut. Fred Bates out of Hopewell.
Yes, sir. Fred Bates, big, athletic, rangy, free safety. As you can see here, I mean, the epitomizes that center fielder back there, but he'll also come up and strike you. As I was sitting and watching his highlight, there was a couple things that stood out to me. Again, just having him run the alley and being physical, does a good job back there. Again, just being that single high safety. I know Hopewell likes to play a lot of single high safety, and it is evident that the reason they like to do that is because this young man right here is a player.
Bryce, how good is he?
Oh, he's great, man. I love this kid. This kid's the heart and soul of our team. He's just a great kid and gives you everything he's got. He's a kid, again, we talk about Hopewell because we just had that conversation with Garrington. This is a kid that doesn't matter if it's 50 to nothing or you're down, 0 to 50. He's going to be a kid to give you everything he's got, and that's ironic. You have his sophomore year junior year film. No, sophomore year film. That's correct. Up here, he actually became a kick returner for me this past year. He bothered me about it over and over and over, and then finally I let him do it. I just had a great first kick return against Lake Norman. Of course, got called back. There was a questionable hold, but he would have some great kick returns in the games. But
again, it's a special teams making plays like that too.
Exactly.
Oh, he's an excellent kid, man. I just stuff like this you'll see again. We're in the IMEC, so if you're an all-conference DB in the IMEC, somebody saw enough for you because Hubbs is going to take about 7 of them.
Well, man, everybody makes the all-conference team in the IMEC, though.
Exactly.
Not a DB. Not a DB.
Y'all have 47 all-conference players. Coach Fitzgerald, you're in the IMEC. Why do you guys have so many all-conference players in the IMEC?
Coach, I don't have a clue, man. When I looked up and saw that we had 7 of the 8 quarterbacks that were all conference, I was like, okay.
How does that happen?
Look at Gary out there chuckling.
Ridiculous. Everybody gets a trophy in the IMEC.
Yeah, everybody gets a trophy.
Hey, to get through Vance Creek and Hubbs.
It's the least you could give us right now.
I think a certificate, actually. That's fine. I'm proud of that.
I'm sitting here trying to game plan at Mallard Creek, and I'm like, okay, do I want to run into the kid that's going to Clemson, or do I want it to run into the kid that's going to Miami? You can give me a couple extra all-conference spots.
I saw a picture of them after the game this year on the field slapping hands or throwing up the 4 for 704. I was like, I bet there's a lot of coaches in the IMEC probably glad those guys are in college right now.
But that's the thing, Langston. You watch on Saturday. You got the kid from Vance that's starting for Liberty. You got a kid from Vance that's starting for Syracuse.
Like I don't about the talent. I just said you guys have too many all-conference players. That's all I'm saying.
But that's what I'm saying. Like those kids are college players playing.
Yeah, you had a little trophy in the room when you're.
I'm just saying, Langston. Y'all get all this stuff. I had the throw my running back into my quarterback. He literally threw my 180-pound running back into my quarterback like it was a drill. I'll take that trophy, Gary. Actually, I would love to have it. Like, hey, you show me on tape what me and through.
It's your second favorite time of the night now. It's time for gloom and doom.
Gloom and doom.
The 2-minute warning.
The 2-minute warning.
Gloom and doom. We haven't been gloom or doom in a long time now, have we?
No, we haven't.
And no plans to be.
Well, look, guys. Last week, they played the final or Game 6 of the World Series, and Tampa Bay lifted their ace pitcher. And you could just, because of the analytics, somebody got in the manager's ear and say, hey, you need to take him out. He's giving up a hit. Analytics say he needs to come out. And he was killing the Dodgers. They couldn't hit him. Mm-hmm. And they took him out because he got hit one time. And their logic was, well, the third time a pitcher goes up against a batter is more likely to get a hit. So that was their rationale for taking him out. And as soon as they took him out, the Dodgers scored a couple of runs and they went on to win the World Series. And, basketball uses analytics. Daryl Morey down with the Houston Rockets brought it into the NBA. And, he talked about, small ball. All we want is 3-pointers and layups and free throws. Anything in between that, it's not good because of the numbers, the percentages. And so it's used in all sports at the college. And, a lot of NFL teams have an analytics coach that, he's in the head coach's ear saying, hey, we should go for 2 right here, or we need to go for it on 4th down. Do you think we need that kind of statistical analysis in high school football? Kenzie, you go first.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm a big analytics person in every sport. I think that kind of tells a story, but it's only part of it. So it depends on how the coach uses it. Talked about Game 6 of the World Series. The analytics were wrong, and that's gonna happen. But overall, you look at it, the analytics won the Super Bowl for Andy Reid. That is one of the main reasons they won the Super Bowl is because they went for it on 4th down and the probability was in their favor. High school football, it's just the same, maybe on a lower level, you don't necessarily rely on the analytics as much, but, runs working more, pass working more. This team has this type of percentage, this type of thing. They're going to tackle on this side 50%, and so it definitely works in your favor because it's a different way to game plan. You have so many different options with it. It kind of tells the story before even watching the game film. So when you go in, you can look at those analytics and then you can look at the game film, compare, and then kind of come with the overall story instead of just watching the game film and kind of getting this perspective of just watching it. So I'm pro analytics in every situation for sports most times.
Dale, what do you think?
So my life is analytics and AI and predictive in machines. And I'm huge on numbers, but high school, the problem with analytics in high school, analytics is going to work in college and it's going to work in the pros. And that's because they're putting in the data. The result of your analytics is no better than the data goes in. And the problem in high school, Gary, as coaches don't keep all the data. Huddle does a lot of analytics for you. So coaches will use that for some predictive game planning, but they're not inputting enough of their own information to truly use analytics to their best ability. And they're not going to because they don't have the time. So I think in high school, while it could potentially be helpful, too many variables change if you try to look at it down to a player as to, can a player go further or should I use a player for this or that? In high school, there's so much development that goes on with a player that even if you were inputting the data, it would be tougher to use that if you gather what I'm saying. Yeah. But at the end of the day, Gary, I don't think in high school, no, just simply because the coaches are not going to put the data in.
Well, I think coaches already use analytics. They just don't call it that. Before they play a team, they look at huddle 2 or 3 games. They go to max preps. They get the starting lineup. They find out the shooting percentages of each player from the line, from the 3-point, from 2-point. And they kind of, they use it that way. We want to let this person shoot a 3. This person is not good from 3. Don't guard them. Let them have that shot. Or we don't want to foul this person at the end of the game. They're a high percentage free throw shooter. So I think coaches already use it. I think what we're getting caught up in is at the higher levels of sports, they are hiring guys just to do analytics. Right. They're not out on the field at practice or in the gym at practice. They're just studying numbers and they're giving numbers. I want you to watch on Saturday. these Power 5 schools, they usually have a guy that follows around the head coach with a notebook. And that's what they're doing. They're telling the head coach, hey, you need to go to 2. You need to go for 2 here. Or, we need to run these amount of plays before we call a timeout. And all of these type of strategies, they have it already on paper, and they're right beside the head coach. I know, I'm watching Carolina every Saturday, and that's what Mac Brown uses Sparky Woods for. That's his guy. Every time there's a timeout, you can see Sparky Woods standing beside Mac Brown, letting him know, okay, here are what your options are according to the data. And I just think high school coaches, they know the data. They know how good teams are on third down. They know how good teams are picking up the blitz. They know what their blitz protection is. All of that is analytics. But in the past, we've just called it being prepared, knowing your opponent.
I'm going to throw one more thing in just on analytics. Back about 3 years ago at Carolina Varsity, we were running a report called the Carolina Varsity Football Report. And starting at the beginning of the season, we predicted every game in the state for public schools through the end of the season. Mm-hmm. We predicted the state championship, and that would roll every week. Just to tell you how good data can be. And this is a similar formula that was used that Massey used that was if you're familiar with Massey's predictions. And those analytics got to the point about the 6th game of the season, it predicted 80% of the wins. So data, if you got the data, it's a good thing. So this coming Tuesday is a big election. And this is not about, who you're voting for or whatnot, but for people to vote, they need to be informed. And of course, a lot of people do not get themselves informed. The question is, what can we do or what could be done to make that process of informing people better?
Well, this weekend we've been inundated with commercials from, political candidates. And beginning this week, you're starting to see more commercials for local offices and state offices, whereas it is, most of the fall has been, for federal elected offices, of course, the presidency being number one. I think what make the whole process better is that before these commercials are allowed to run, they have to go through a bipartisan fact-checking organization. And anything that's not true or half-truth or distorts the truth should not be allowed to run as a commercial. Because I bet at least 50 to 60% of the people who get their political information are getting it from a news group, commercials, and they hear it, and because it was on TV, they think it's true. And then they run with that information to make their decision, as well as pass along that information to others. So what I would like to see is a bipartisan commission have to approve all political commercials for facts. And if the commercial is a distortion of the facts or a distortion of the video, it should not be allowed to run. That's what I would do. Kenzie?
Well, I'm just going to start this out by saying I cannot vote. I am not of the age to vote. So I'm kind of looking at this from what I'm going to do in the future. But I was into politics for a long time, and I had this policy. If you watch something on Fox News, it's probably going to run on CNN too, and the story's probably somewhere in the middle, right? Because they're both on either side of the spectrum pretty severely. So, I mean, just trying to find that middle source. Don't just rely on 50 Cent talking about the tax plan and how he doesn't want to be 20 Cent. And don't just rely on Taylor Swift talking about Joe Biden. Like, there's something in the middle. And I think, you have to know where you stand and, like, what values you want in your country. And, and, like, vote for the person you want in office, not just for the person everybody's going for, in the popular opinion. Vote for who you want in office and know the facts. They have websites. You can Google their names. Don't just go to the top searched thing. Search a little bit. It doesn't take that much effort. If a 17-year-old girl with the attention span of a puppy can do it, you can do it. I promise you. It's going to be worth it in the end. And vote for me because I can't. And I've wanted to vote for a really long time. So
first of all, I wrote a paper, and I've got another paper that I'm in the midst of writing, and it's about humans and being the laziness. And my job is automation. That's what I do, is automate machinery and industry. And humans are lazy is one of the first factors that we have to keep in mind. Thus, most humans, unfortunately, are going to go to their easiest places to get information. The 2016 election was the first, one, because it's new to us, sort of, but it was heavily influenced by social media. A lot of people get their information from social media, and it's so today. And as I've ran around trying to do advocacy for a certain candidate, I've had an opportunity to be exposed to a lot of the spectrum of people and their knowledge. And I can tell that there's a lot of influence by social media from, it's almost like a single point that someone's able to express a point, which a lot of times is wrong, unfortunately, and it spreads so easily that right now we're dealing with that. Now, your idea about having the information vetted, that, of course, would require the FEC to do that. They would have to come together and say all ads. I think that's the worst place a person could get their information on who to vote for is from an ad, because I don't care who's running the ad. The ad is very inaccurate and paints this beautiful picture that ain't true of this candidate. Then the other candidate paints this other picture, and they want to paint pictures of each other. And there's so much misleading and unreliable information in getting your voting information that way that I don't watch commercials because of that. But you have a good idea. But the problem is, I don't think most people are getting the information that's making their decisions this election cycle is coming from TV. It's coming from social media. And then it's coming from their friends or their church groups or wherever. It's coming from there, which is still in the end probably coming from social media. And I watched the subcommittee hearing on Friday where they had Twitter, Facebook, and Google on testifying about some of this. And I don't know. How do you want to grab people and shake them and say, go to the website and read what the person's platform is and listen to them talk and say what they have to say. Then go listen to the opponent and don't let other people tell you what the two are. Listen to what the two say if you can get information out of them. But humans are too lazy. It's not going to happen. So I really don't know what we can do to fix it.
Well, as someone from the social media era, I can say that's where I do get most of my political news. And follow Fox and CNN, got to get that middle source. But good middle source is just, going to the Twitter trending page. Because people just get in arguments on there. And that's where you should get all your information. All right. Now, one's got to go. Telemarketing calls. Text encouraging you to vote. Or filters in the mail. Or flyers. Sorry, I can't.
I don't like any of them. I did have an app installed on my phone that eliminates the what they call spam calls, the telemarketing calls. This is the first year I've gotten political texts. Let me tell you a funny story. 2 weeks ago, I donated to a political candidate. Okay? Not 5 minutes later, I got a text and an email from this candidate to give some more money. And I'm like, I just gave you some money. 5 minutes later, you want some more money. That's worse than little kids. They don't ask for money that quick. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I just gave you money 5 minutes ago, and you're emailing me and you're texting me for some more money. And it's been nonstop for the last 2 weeks. I have deleted at least 10 emails a day from this candidate, and ignored probably just as many texts from this candidate. And now I almost don't want him to win, just because of the annoyance that he's given me the last 2 weeks. So I think I can live with the advertising flyers, but the calls and the emails I can do without. Dale?
Yeah, so I made the mistake of going to several different candidates or going to take some polls. I see something I want to share. I want to do my opinion. And then I find out after I do the poll, this is for this candidate, or this was for, sponsored by this candidate. So now I'm getting those text messages just from all angles. And then, of course, at the end of each month, they have to report their earnings or their donations to the FEC. And so they're begging you for money at the end of the month. So I'm going to go down the list. The marketing. So there's two different types of calls. There's marketing calls and there's spam calls. I'm the guy that talks to spammers. If you saw I put up on Facebook last week my conversation with the scammer that called me. I'm a big Monty Python fan, so I took one of the Monty Python skits and started talking to him. I don't want those calls to go away because that's fun for me. The marketing calls, I don't get telemarketing calls because I'm on a do not call list. So legit telemarketers won't call you. Flyers in the mail, we throw mail out without even opening it up. So the texts have been annoying, and I have tried doing the same little game. It'll ask who you're going to vote for. And then, of course, I'm voting for somebody they're not asking me about, so I'll put their name in. Or I've tried to find some way to play with them, but I can't. So I just want the text messages to go.
Yeah, you mentioned that text, and I had one say, well, we see you've already voted, so now they can't get my vote. Will you go out and encourage 3 other people to vote? I replied back, sure, yes. And they say, will you give me the names of those 3 people? And I said, Mo, Larry, and Curly. And they text me back,
Give me those numbers.
No. They text me back in Three Stooges language, and I was like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Good for them. Well, it's humans that run those. They got these call banks, and so they're not automated so much as humans run those. Because I was asked about doing that myself, donating some time, and you get on a computer and you answer questions because people may ask questions, so they want you to answer. It's like, no, I'm not. So that's cool.
Well, Kenzie, you're like you said, you're not a voter, but have you experienced these political?
So I don't get political text, but I actually get text about every day. And they think my name's Johnny. So it's Johnny, need you to buy this pill. Johnny, you need to do this, you need to do that. And they're actually, for teenage girls watching, they're actually sex trafficking schemes. So you shouldn't reply to those, but you probably shouldn't reply to any text message from an unknown number, guys, just so you know. That could hack your phone for future references. Telemarketing calls are not that bad. I don't have a mailing address. I live with my parents. So, the texts have got to go, though, because, I'm tired of the Johnny text messages. It's really annoying.
There you go.
Bryce, Fitzgerald, what do you guys think? Telemarketing calls, voting texts, or ad flyers? For me, it's definitely the voting text. I get like 50 an hour.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've already voted. I don't know. I need to figure out where the checkbox that Gary checked said that he already voted, because I keep getting these things and, they keep saying, please go vote. We need you, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, It's already done, guys. Like,
No, I graduated. I get the one Gary gets now. We see you voted. Can you tell 3 other people?
Yeah, they can find out if you voted.
I didn't know that. Like, wait a minute. They found out that I haven't voted
I guess they're
yet.
taking voter records.
Yeah, voter records.
Yeah, I always vote on election day at Alderman's United Methodist Church, and that's where
Let me tell you what, I voted
absentee
absentee this year, and that was the easiest thing ever. I sat in my kitchen counter, filled out my ballot. My wife signed the back. I was like, man, I may never stand in line again ever. I mean, that was like so easy.
No,
This is the fourth election I've done that.
Church. That's not even my church.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, it's so easy. I mean,
It is.
You request it, they send it, you fill it out, boom, and then you can go online and you can check it to make sure it got there. I'm like,
exactly.
It's about the experience. Don't Amazon Prime your vote. Like,
man,
go out there.
Prime my vote. They gave me a big old sticker. I walked around with it all proud. Nobody else has voted yet because I voted like week one.
No, you got to go. It's an experience for me. I'll wake up early, or either I do it in the afternoon, and I'll go in there. I see all the same people I see. I mean, this is the old part. You know, y'all the old guys normally. Maybe this is my old part. I'm fine with that.
It was really
right. I stood in line for 3 hours in 1992 for an election. And
I stood in line like that the last 3 or 4 presidents.
And I've never had to stand in line.
I said never again. You know, I was like this, you know, and the thing about it was like early November, first week of November. So not only was I still coaching football, I was taking football practice, going to basketball practice, even basketball practice, trying to go vote, and then having to wait another 3 hours. I was like, this won't happen again.
So Kinsey, when you finally do get a chance to vote, do you think you'll vote absentee or will you go stand in line?
So the next election, I'll probably be in college, so I'll probably vote absentee.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't really know, but
I tell you what, once you go there, all right, we're gonna send Kinsey. And who else I need to send to the back room? Kinsey and Dale go to the back room. And we got Coach Fitzgerald who's going to do a little fighting. And Coach
Thunderdog.
All right, Grice, you got some new competition tonight.
We battled before, just in a different arena.
You battled before out on the football field. Now you got to battle on camera. Guys, the Panthers are kind of up and down. They lost the first 2. Then they won the next 3. Now they're on a 3-game losing streak. How do you see it this week going to Kansas City? Will the streak continue, or will they pull off the upset of the season?
I get the hell beat out of, man. Like, ain't no way. Like, that's Patrick Mahomes. Again, that's one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen. He's one of the best, most naturally gifted throwers of the football in history of football. I think that they do a great job, and this is kind of underrated by a lot of good teams, but they do a great job in non-divisional opponents of beating the teams they should have. You know, like with today, even watching them with the Jets. You know, it's a situation where early on it seemed like maybe it was a little close, but they did everything they could, executed well enough, and I mean the score was a laugher by the end of that game. I think you'll get a little bit of that here. I do think that Teddy will play a little better, provided he's completely healthy, than he played this past week. You know, I think with Atlanta, a lot of that blitzing, again, divisional opponents are tough. So I think you'll get the offense playing a little bit better, but I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes. Come on.
Yeah, you're not gonna get any fight out of me. I mean, if you were looking for me to take the other I mean, the deal is there's too much talent. Period. Point blank. You know, whether the Panthers want to admit it or not, this is very much in a rebuilding phase. You know, I hope that they give Coach Rule, love Coach Rule, was around Coach Rule when he was at Western Carolina. I was there for a year. You know, I love him, and I hope, you know, they give him a chance. You know, I hope that this kind of build is a little bit similar to what you saw Chucky do for Las Vegas Raiders, man. You know, and so I hope that, you know, he's getting his guys in progressively, and then in a couple of years, you're really going to see the Panthers take back off. But as far as Sunday goes, I got to say the skid's going to continue, and you know, they'd be they'd be doing really well to keep it close.
Gary, that's another one, Gary. Hey, I told you, everybody that has met Coach Rule in some form or fashion, it's 100%. That's another one. It's 100%. Everybody loves him like crazy.
I'm becoming a fan, and I've never met him, but I can see the improvement even in losses. I can see the improvement, and the biggest thing is they play so hard. I mean, they don't play well all the time, but they play hard, especially on defense.
Yeah.
You know. All right, guys. Next question. Usually on Saturday, and I'm sure you guys watch a lot of football on Saturday, everybody is up tempo, no huddle offense. And then you turn around and watch the NFL on Sunday, and the only time they usually go no huddle is at the 2-minute warning or at the end of the game when they're trying to make a comeback. But most of the time, NFL teams huddle up, and most of the time, college teams they call the plays from the line of scrimmage, and many of them are up tempo. Which one you think is the best for the more talented team? Coach Fitzgerald, you go first.
Yes, sir. So I think that this is a fantastic thing for Coach Grice and I to speak on because we are at Lake Norman High School. We run, triple option. We huddle very seldom. We will do a little bit of tempo just to throw everybody off a little bit, keep you honest. But I think one of the benefits for huddling is it's another phase of the game. It's time of possession. It makes every single possession count. So if, for me personally, if I'm playing a team that, like Vance High School that's got, 11 starters on defense that are going to go play Division I college football or Division II college football, I'm going to huddle. I'm going to make every single one of your possessions count. If you don't score on that possession, then you're not going to get the ball back for a long time because I'm going to hold the football. I'm going to huddle. And it also helps with communication. There's so many times you see receivers throwing their hands up on the sidelines. It's hard to get that message out there to those guys, especially on the opposite sideline of, the team that's calling the play. I think if you are a phenomenally talented team, I think it makes it really, really hard on defensive coordinators to make a call when you're going tempo, you're going fast. But I think it's just as equally hard, for me to, huddle, break the huddle with 10 seconds to go, sprint up to the line in a formation, snap the football with 5 seconds to go. Most defensive coordinators are not making a call until they see what formation I'm in. So, I'm definitely pro huddle and will continue to do that.
Grice?
Yeah, when we play Coach Fitz and them, I'm sitting on the sideline sounding like the Joker as he's sitting there in the huddle looking up, eating popcorn, then calling a play to Anthony to get on the line. I'm over here, come on. Like, it is hell. So I understand in that perspective. But for me, if I'm the more talented team, and especially kind of taking off of, your discussion on analytics in the 2-minute warning, I know that if I'm better than you and I run 90 plays, more of those plays, I'm going to get the upper hand in. So if I run more plays, I have the opportunity to affect the game and be better. Thus, even if I'm playing on the other side of that with a team that's better than me, the bigger advantages of going up tempo are, one, you get a lot of base. We still got rocked by Vance, but I think a lot of the success of us getting in the red zone multiple times in the first half for us was the fact that I knew, if I knew the blitz was coming, everyone could see it. This wasn't a situation where they're hiding stuff or doing, different things. It took me a while, like when I'm playing Coach Fitz and those guys, figuring out what the hell Coach Johnson's doing on defense there. I know if I'm getting a blitz, you're seeing Power looking at my quarterback and going with the thing across his neck like you're dead. It ain't hard for anybody to figure out what's coming. So it's easy to see that stuff. It wears guys down. So again, my guys know, look, we're going to run, we're going to run up tempo, up and down in practice. There should be no situation in which you are not ready to run 80, 90 plays. Even huddling for us up down. I guess we fast huddle or something. Because shoot, we're even getting 75, 80 plays with huddling a little bit. So I think for our guys, it helps one to get in the rhythm. You're getting out there, you're moving. It almost creates a soccer-like aspect of it. I love soccer. It's one of those things where you're always kind of moving, getting in the rhythm. You're continuing to go. So for me, up tempo is the way to go. My guys are prepared. They look forward to getting the ball. The defense knows if they're giving the ball, to us, they're excited because they know something's going to happen.
Well, guys, yesterday, Clemson had a scare. Boston College had a huge lead on them early in the third quarter, but Clemson came back and won the game. It's already been announced that next week Trevor Lawrence will not play against Notre Dame. What do you think about the backup quarterback? I'm gonna call him DJ quarterback because I can't.
Uangalele, I think.
Uangalele. Okay. What do you think about the backup quarterback? And is this the beginning of the end of the Clemson dynasty? Grice.
Yeah, you're not gonna get me on these talking prep streets to say it's the end of the dynasty. I do think that you penciling them in. You better put them in pencil. Don't put them in pen for that college football playoff. Put them in pencil and make sure you got a good eraser handy when it comes to that. Again, we talked about this earlier with Cam Newton and that COVID fog. Depending on the situation, Trevor's not just going to come back immediately. You wouldn't think and just be able to jump right in there. I think DJ Uangalele, or however you pronounce it, he showed the promise. I mean, clearly, this is a Cali guy that has great high school career, national player of the year. He's going to be good. But I think we saw with Boston College. I mean, they really affected them. Putting pressure, giving them confusing looks. Remember, he's just a freshman here, so the guy's stepping into a big moment. With little time to prepare. So I do think it gets tougher for them to win a national title this year, even with Trevor. If he comes back. We're seeing that the distance between them and Ohio State closed. I think Fields has as many incompletions as times I've eaten today. It's been pretty amazing how well he's done so far. So I think they're going to be in trouble, man. I really think that a Clemson-Bama final is not guaranteed anymore.
Coach.
And this kind of pains me to say this because I'm a South Carolina Gamecocks fan, but. I got to tell you, man, I went to the University of Clemson on a clinic a couple years ago. Spoke with Coach Richardson from Northwestern, phenomenal guy. Love that guy. But I can't see this being the end for Clemson. I mean, just the championship culture that Dabo's built, and I mean, it's a next man up atmosphere over there. I know that Notre Dame is talented. I know that Notre Dame is, again, also has that championship culture that they built over, decades. But I got to feel like, Clemson pulls it out. I think BC was enough scared to maybe wake up some role players around the quarterback. And I think those guys are going to play hard, and I think they're going to play exceptionally well this week, barring any kind of additional COVID incidences where they've got to have some guys step out. I can't see. I mean, if Mr. DJU here was recruited by Clemson, he's a dude. He's a championship caliber quarterback. So I mean, he's had a game to figure out the speed of it. I mean, against a good BC team. I got to feel like they come out next week and maybe they don't put it on the same way they put it on Georgia Tech, but I think they come out ahead.
Yeah, I think it gives Dabo something to rally the team around this week.
If Griner was here, he'd be disgusted with it. Oh, yeah.
I think he will have their undivided attention this week. Can't wait to see the game on Saturday. Well, guys, last question here. Is Teddy Bridgewater the franchise QB that the Panthers need? He's only 27 years old. Or is he just a placeholder for the next guy in next year's draft?
I think Teddy Bridgewater was comfort. If you look at the offensive staff with Joe Brady and being in analytics for the Saints offense, and then coming over to be the offensive coordinator for LSU, Teddy Bridgewater knew the offense that Joe Brady wanted to run. And so it's been the same offense. LSU ran the Saints offense as Joe Brady brought it over. And so now, it's a little bit of a hybrid version here that you're seeing with the Panthers, but I think it's comfort. I think Joe Brady has worked with Bridgewater before. I think he's a guy that can be on the same page. You see with Mahomes and Andy Reid and those play callers there, those guys are on the same page. Like there's no break in that. And so I think, the Panthers are trying to replicate that. I think it's a great move for them to have him because I have to see, I'm sure at some point they got to draft an offensive lineman, to continue to build around, and they've got to draft a quarterback. And, what I have noticed, at least in the NFL, is the quarterbacks that get a chance to sit behind pros and to sit behind. Aaron Rodgers got to sit behind Brett Favre for a long time, and he's phenomenal and has been phenomenal. And there was never really that rookie season where he wasn't phenomenal. And then I think you see guys like, Baker Mayfield didn't get the opportunity to sit behind a pro, so he struggles from time to time in certain situations. Johnny Manziel got thrown to the wolves and wasn't ready. And where is he now? I think the guys that are successful, the rookie quarterbacks that come in that get to sit behind true pro quarterbacks are the guys that are successful for a long, long time. And so I think that Teddy Bridgewater can be that pro for whoever comes in and is in that draft class for the Panthers.
Grice?
Yeah, Gary. So Gary, we all know that you're in Omega Psi Phi. You're in a good group of brothers. Now this bro I'm talking about. He's that guy that he's got what we call an old lady. He talk about other women. He looks around. But he knows he's going home to his dependable old lady. You know what I'm talking about? You have that guy picture in your mind right now.
Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater is the old lady. Like, it's a situation where Panthers fans are never going to be enamored by his, by the beauty, so to speak. He's never going to do things to wow you. He's never going to be, oh my goodness, but he's dependable. He's somebody that's always going to be there, and he's going to show up in the right time. And that's it. That's what it is. It's Teddy Bridgewater is an old lady. It is the best way to put it. He's a guy that can be a franchise quarterback. He's got it done. He's played in the playoffs. He's played for a significant team in Minnesota, but that it's never going to be a situation where you're confident. You're saying, all right, this is the guy I want for the next 10 years.
So you're ready to re-up Teddy Bridgewater $150 million a couple years from now?
Yeah, you can get him for 150. But by the time the salary cap where it's going to be, that's the cost of doing business. Opportunity cost. It's to have or to go try to find somebody and hope he works. You're not getting.
Here's what I think: the Panthers don't need the best quarterback to be successful. They've shown throughout their history when they have an adequate offensive line and an outstanding defensive line, that's when the Panthers are dominant. Right. And that's pretty much the case with most teams around the league. You got to be able to protect the guy who's standing back there. And then, you can get by with an average quarterback. An average quarterback looks very good behind a great offensive line. And like he said, I think they need to work on drafting offensive linemen. And, for them to be dominant, they've already started the process of drafting defensive linemen. They got a pass rusher in Burns. They got a run stopper in Brown.
That dude, Jeremy
run stopper. Now they need a middle linebacker on defense. But they really need some offensive line so Bridgewater has time to pick NFL secondaries apart. Where they've been struggling in the last 3 weeks, if teams have been sending the house at them on third down, and he hadn't even been able to throw it away because he's still in the pocket.
Well, they also got to find DJ Moore a little earlier in games. I mean, Joe Brady's a phenomenal offense coordinator, but your best potential weapon doesn't catch a pass to the fourth quarter and still ends up leading your team in reception yards. Something's wrong there.
Yeah,
something's wrong.
Say what you will about Cam Newton. He didn't have great lines there at the end.
They never supported Cam. They never supported Cam offensively. He was running for his life the whole time he was here. Coach Fitzgerald, thanks a lot for coming on with us, man. I know it's kind of a spur of the moment, but I appreciate you. Good luck. And we definitely have to have you back in February, hopefully when we're playing football.
I hope so too.
All right, man. Look, thanks a lot. Take care of yourself.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, that's Coach Sean Fitzgerald. All right, before we get out of here, I gotta ask for a prediction. Let me get the Teddy B off the screen. Providence Day or Charlotte Christian? Kinsey, who's winning?
I'm gonna go Charlotte Christian.
Charlotte Christian. Dale, who you got?
Providence Day.
Providence Day. Grice.
The king stays the king. 35,
Grice is
31.
frozen. Am I the only one frozen? It's Grice. Gary, who you got?
I got Providence Day. I think they have more explosive players.
All right. Well,
should
be a great game. Well, we're going to let Grice have final thoughts, but Grice, you back with us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, I heard you crystal clear the whole time. I said 35-31 Christian, but yeah.
Oh, because you already predicted what you were going to say, like the king is still the king.
King staying the king.
King staying the king. I did notice after the Christian game that Coach Eastep and Henry Rutledge, the star player, both said they didn't throw their best punch or something at Providence State the first time. So I expect this to be a really good game. I think it'll come down to the end, and hopefully we'll have great weather and a great game. All right, so since my man Sam Griner abandoned me tonight, we got to toss final thoughts to Grice, and we're gonna put him into one shot. What you got?
Hey, shout out to Griner. Hope all is well. Hope, look like you had a great Halloween. But, the biggest thing is just safety. I think we've seen a lot of things that have come out about, the Halloween time and people, not masking up, not being safe. Especially to our student athletes, it's important for you, not only yourself to stay safe, but for the ecosystem around you. I know a good phrase we have is keeping our ecosystem clean at Hopewell, and, knowing that your decisions can affect 80 to 100 other people around you. So the big thing is, everyone being selfless, being conscious of their health, and ensuring that we all stay safe, so we can hopefully play football in February. So mask up, remember, keep the ecosystem clean around you, and let's make sure we're able to keep it going.
Yeah, I heard Tom Knotts give a very similar message to his team after the Dutch Fort game. He was like, this COVID is everywhere. We got to take care of ourselves. I really, really hope we play football in February, but I'm really, really starting to get concerned that we're not going to. And I'm looking at the Braxton Winston, the city council, put out a thread on Twitter showing all the clubs that are open and all the people are partying. Guys, we can't do that right now.
QC Nerve that started that. Yep.
We just can't do. Yeah, it was on QC Nerve. We just can't do that right now because that's going to lead to everything closing up. That's going to lead to no sports. It's going to lead to schools not opening, all of that stuff. And I know it's really hard to think about other people sometimes, but I think right now we got to mask up and social distance and just be smart. As Dale likes to say, be good humans, because I just want to see kids. I want kids to go to school. I
would like that too.
I want to see sports being played in the private schools. I mean, the private schools are much smaller. They don't have busing and a lot of those other things, but they have shown us that you can do this in a pandemic. And I think when we were talking about plans and all of us were advocating for spring football, it looked like, I think it was Gary that said play, or Dale, one of you guys said play in the fall. I think that may have been the right.
Big advocate for that.
Spring.
Yeah, looking back on hindsight, they're like it may have been the right call. But the public schools are so much bigger, and there's such a larger mechanism versus the private schools. And I was talking to a teacher today. She's scared to death about going to class tomorrow, just scared to death. And you talk about bus drivers and cafeteria workers. There's just a lot of people that are involved in public schools. So it would help if we weren't having our clubs filled up every Friday and Saturday night. It would help a lot.
It would help.
All right, so I'm off my soapbox. I'm Langston. That's Gary. That's Grice. That's Dale. That's Kinsey. Shout out to my man Sam Griner. Shout out to my man across the world, Chris Hughes. Miss you, buddy. We'll see you guys next Monday on Talking Preps.
Take care.
Take care. Wear your mask.